All right. It is that time of the week again where it is officially time to get underway with yet another BeamNG Monster Jam event. And today, do we have a lineup for you? There are 16 trucks all competing out here in Arlington, Texas. So this is going to be a crazy event. Now here's the track we're taking a look at. We haven't seen this track for a couple years. Saw a little bit in 2023, but for the most part, this was a 2022 track. So it's going to make its return here. This is the second placement event for the Christmas Crush event that will be taking place just next week. So you're not going to want to miss that. This event is going to determine that lineup. Now there was an event last week that determined half the lineup. This is going to determine the other half, and then a few more drivers might get tossed in through fan selection. But this is going to be a super high stakes night, and it's a pretty stacked lineup that is as follows. We will be seeing Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger, Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash, Todd, LeDuc and Megalodon, Bryce, Kenny and Monster Mutt, Cynthia, Gauthier and Lucas Oil Stabilizer, Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus, Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian, Armando, Castro and Toro, Loco, Jamey, Garner and Overboard, Zack, Garner and Wildside, Venard and the Black Pearl, Matt, Pagliarulo and Jester, Nick, Pagliarulo and Kraken, Mike, Pagliarulo and Excalibur, Tim Jones and Tailgator doing another Monster Jam show, and Brandan, Tulachka, and Just Get Her Done too. That is your full lineup, and remember, as usual here on Monster Jam Jackinator, you fans are going to be scoring each and every single one of these runs as you so feel it deserves. You'll score from 0 to 10 up to the thousandth place for whatever score you think each run deserved, and that will be the official score, and if no fan scores come in, an official judge will do the scores instead. So, that being said, it's officially time to get underway with this insane event with a super stacked lineup with one goal to make it into the Christmas Crush. Now, that being said, we're going to be kicking off the action tonight with a driver who's really improved recently, especially this year, to become one of the more technically advanced drivers in the sport, doing things like bicycles and moonwalks nearly flawlessly. Please welcome Brandan, Tulachka and Just Get Her Done, second generation now. This is a driver, like said, no stranger to doing things that the other competitors in the field might not be able to, especially when it comes to things like moonwalks, bicycles, stoppies. So that might give an upper hand in the competition here. Now, per usual for a Monster Jam show, each freestyle will have 2 minutes on the clock. Once those 2 minutes are up, the official scoring period of the run will be over. Now, drivers may still continue on for you fans if they so choose, but they don't have to once the scoring period is up. And anything they do after the scoring period is up is, of course, not for a score. And last but not least, this is a all limits event, and not all limits, the opposite of that, a no limits event. Wow, I don't know how I botched that like that. This is a no limits event, which means that if a driver wants to do something crazy and they end up breaking the truck, doesn't matter, they're going to be able to continue on regardless. So those are all the main rules to get out of the way with this event. Now, nonetheless, it's going to be a great show, no matter what the rules are, and I think those are some pretty awesome rules. With that being said, it's officially time to get underway with the event. Now, your first round of the night, again, Brandan, Tulachka here and Just Get Her Done, second generation. He's got 2 minutes on the clock, and that's going to start now. You can see him trying to get a little bit of a technical move in here to kick off the run. He had a pretty decent start to it, but it looks like he got set down a little fast. Nonetheless, though, that's not going to stop him. He still has about 1:50 on the clock, so he's going to have to make the most of it. Now, Brandan Tulachka, his only real time on a stadium floor in recent years was actually at the World Finals, but it was in the last chance qualifier competition. And on top of that, his competition there was only for racing. So as far as freestyle goes, this is really his first time doing a stadium freestyle. So this is his chance to really show you fans what he's able to do on a big floor. So maybe some added pressure on him for that as well, because I mean, this is a totally new experience, but he's done plenty of big floors elsewhere, so I'm sure he will be able to put something together, and that move is furthering my point. A great little save right there. We are going to have to see a little bit more momentum, I would say, for this run to really get that desired score. I mean, the Christmas Crush is going to be the biggest event of the year. 20 to 24 drivers will be in that field, so the pressure is definitely on to try and make it. And Brandan Tulachka really trying to put something special together for you fans. Looks like he's going to roll it over early, maybe try and get the save, but the truck is not going to allow for that to happen. He is on the lid and unable to save it. A very tough break there for Brandan Tulachka and Just Get It Done too. Nonetheless, he filled a decent amount of time, filled about 90 seconds, so that's about 3/4 of the run filled. So that being said, it's officially time to get your scores locked in, fans. Remember, the scoring is all up to you. You score from 0 to 10, the score you think that run deserved, and that will be the official score for the run. So go ahead and get your scores locked in for what you think Brandan Tulachka and Just Get Her Done 2 deserved. Keep in mind, this score is going to determine whether or not these drivers make it to the biggest show of the year. So definitely a little bit of added pressure there. So again, go ahead and get your scores locked in for that freestyle run by Brandan Tulachka and Just Get Her Done 2. Now, as specified, if no fan scores end up coming in, we do move over to an official judge, but we will be awaiting that fan score nonetheless. Well, the scoring period is now up, and the official score tonight for Brandan Tulachka and Just Get Her Done 2 is a 6.221. Not the biggest score ever seen. You know what? He left a lot of time on the clock. Well, not a ton of time, but a pretty decent chunk, even if he did fill a good amount. And he didn't really have a ton of momentum. He did try to save it, which is probably where a good amount of that score came from, but he didn't really have anything too monumental, and so he's not going to be going home with the biggest score of all time tonight. Well, you know what? That might not have been the most ideal way to kick off the night, at least not for Brandan Tulachka, but I'd say it is setting the bar for what will probably be a bit of a chaotic show. I mean, we're starting the show right off the bat with a rollover. I think if anything's going to set the bar for a show, it's going to be just that. So, you can already tell the competition tonight is getting a little bit crazy. It's going to get more and more exciting as we go along, though. So don't go anywhere, because we are just getting started here at Monster Jam in Arlington, Texas. Remember, 16 total runs, and that was only the first of them. So there's plenty more action to come. And coming up next in the Monster Jam freestyle competition, it's going to be a veteran, almost really a veteran driver to the sport. Now has almost a decade into the sport. Next year will be that 10th anniversary of this truck, so keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure this drive will have something exciting planned for that. This is Matt Pagliarulo in Jester. Now, this is a pretty big opportunity, this event, because Matt is getting the chance to go to the biggest event of the year if he can perform well enough at this show. So, whether that adds some pressure or some excitement, you never know. But he is getting this run kicked off very nicely with a nice slap wheelie over there. That's a great way to kick off the action. What better way to kick off a Monster Jam freestyle run than a good wheelie? Now, keep in mind, the bar has been set by a score not very high, because Brandan Tulachka only went home with about a 6.2, but nonetheless, I mean, we saw some pretty decent saves in that run, and of course that rollover, so drivers are going to have to match that kind of action to be getting any sort of decent scores tonight. But I'm sure what drivers are really going to be eyeing to do is to have successful saves, not unsuccessful rollovers, like what ended Brandan Tulachka's night just then. Uh-oh, Matt Pagliarulo and Jester, looks like he might be lining up for something here. He's lining up on the berm, and he is going to full accelerate that over the jump, nail the landing. That's exactly what we're going to need to see some more of from Matt Pagliarulo and Jester. If he wants to have some hopes of taking home that big enough score tonight to make it to the Christmas Crush just next week. And I mean, the action right now is pretty good overall. A little bit more consistent than Brandan Tulachka, but not as much flow from hit to hit. He's spending time to look for each face of each ramp rather than just going with the flow. That might hurt the score a little bit, but we've seen some great air And some great wheelies like that one right there. So Matt constantly finding ways to pick up the bar in this run. And it looks like he is now lining up for the Morgan & Morgan backflip ramp. He's going to nail that landing, though. Take a look at that. He has about 10 seconds now to do something special. He's going to ride into a little bit of a bicycle right there. Some nice hang time up here. Lands it nice and clean. That officially ends the scoring period of the run. Anything else he does is just for you fans. It looks like there might be some truck issues, though. And it looks like in typical Monster Jam fashion, Matt, Pagliarulo, and Jester are going to end this out with some nice donuts. How about it? In the corner of the track, some great donuts in typical Monster Jam fashion for Matt, Pagliarulo, and Jester. And that's going to wrap up that freestyle run. So fans, be sure to go ahead and get your scores locked in, because that's going to do it for Matt, Pagliarulo, and Jester. Another great freestyle run. We saw some massive air, some decent saves, a nailed backflip. Really everything you want in a run. We saw most of it there. Even a little bit of a crash on that last hit. That was a bit of a nosedive. So a great run there for Matt, Pagliarulo, and Jester. But that being said, it is now officially time to go ahead and get your scores locked in for that freestyle run. Some pretty nice action really all around. But again, it's officially time to get your scores locked in for Matt, Pagliarulo, and Jester. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the official scoring period is now locked, which means the official judges are going to come in and grant Matt Pagliarulo here a score. And your score tonight for Matt Pagliarulo and Jester is an 8.482, a pretty good score, all things considered. He left no time on the clock, which is always something you want to look for in a run. And he had some nice saves in there as well, sprinkled throughout the run, and of course those wheelies. A great score tonight for Matt Pagliarulo and Jester, and really, that very well could put him in the runnings to make it to the Christmas Crush next week. Well, you know what, a wonderful start to the action so far tonight. But with that being said, we're just getting started. There is so much more to come, so you fans here watching this event, don't go anywhere after each run ends, because there are plenty more runs to come. And these are high-stake freestyle runs, which means that these drivers are going to push it to the limits tonight. So again, don't go anywhere, because this is only the start to what is about to be an amazing freestyle competition. And on that note, we're officially going to move into your third run of the night. A driver who is no stranger to making things happen. He's been doing this for 10 years now. Actually, a little bit more than that. So he's definitely ready to make this work. Please welcome to the track, Jamey, Garner, and Overboard. Well, you know what? He's no stranger to doing things here in Texas. Jamey Garner has done some pretty crazy things here in Texas dirt. Now he's going to get the chance to do it here in Arlington with one of the highest stakes event of the year. He's going to get this kicked off with some pretty nice air off that jammer. Just a little bit of a wheelie off of it. Wouldn't expect anything less from a driver like Jamey Garner. And now he has some pretty good opportunities here to try and make things happen with this run. Now that being said, the bar has already been set pretty high by Matt Pagliarulo and Jester. So the pressure is definitely going to be on tonight for Jamey Garner and Overboard. But he is staying really consistent with these hits. And that's definitely going to be something to watch out for. Now, Jamey Garner and Overboard, he's keeping this held together pretty well. He's got some pretty good time on the clock to really make this happen. There we go, some nice air right there. And he's in a little bit of a cross-threading game going on as well, which is always something exciting to see. So Jamey Garner and Overboard making this happen. Oh, watch out, here we go. He's getting crossed up. He's going to pull it out into a little bit of a wheelie once again. We are seeing some flawless action right now from Jamey Garner and Overboard. He's going to take us into that center pod. Watch out, Jamey Garner. He's going to go over. Can he save this, though? save of the night. Jamey, Garner, and Overboard. He has done it. He has really outdone the expectations for, I'm sure, most of fans here. I mean, now Jamey Garner's always been a great driver who's been held to a pretty high standard, but I mean, I think fans would be shocked if any driver pulls off a move like that. Jamey Garner has done it. He's going to nail the backflip. And I mean, this has got to take the lead. We have just seen move of the night. He's going to now pull up some massive air. He's going over. Talk about overboard. More like going overboard. Jamey Garner sends that truck through the air and pulls off another insane move. You see him coming off that landing. He gets a little bit crossed up and he ends up breaking off a tire. He left nothing of that truck, but I mean, what less would you expect from Jamey Garner and overboard? An incredible run, and that has got to put him in the runnings to make it to that event next week. That being said, let's move it over and take a look at the official scores tonight for Jamey Garner and overboard. Excuse me. Alright. Well, the scoring period is now locked for you fans, so the official judges are going to pitch in here. And the score tonight for Jamey Garner and overboard is a 9.319. That is officially your new score to beat. Very well deserved. Honestly, I think that might be a little bit low for what we just saw. An amazing run for Jamey Garner and overboard, regardless of what that score was. And I'm sure he will be going home happy with a score like that. Well, this action tonight so far has been off the charts. I mean, crazy moves left and right. And still, we're just getting started. This next driver will be the 4th driver. And that means we'll only be a quarter of the way done after this freestyle run. So much action packed into one event, which is exactly what you want to see. And coming up next, it's going to be a driver who has a World Championship to her name. So, not someone to slack on. This is a driver who knows how to drive. I mean, getting a World Championship is not something most drivers can say they've done. Please welcome to the track, Cynthia Gauthier and Lucas Stabilizer. Cynthia, still a pretty new driver when you look at the comparison to some other drivers in this sport. But not all that new, going in the late 2010s, so probably one of the newer drivers, actually the newest driver to the fleet out of the lineup we've seen so far, but not quite the most rookie driver of the night. Nonetheless, though, he's getting a pretty solid start to the run. We're seeing some pretty good air to kick it off, and that's exactly what you're going to want to see when it comes to giving a winning run. So Cynthia Gauthier really pushing this truck to its limits right now. You see that Lucas Oil product getting its work in. Would you expect anything less of Lucas Oil? Because I sure wouldn't. A great freestyle run is exactly what you could expect from a Monster Jam truck, and Cynthia Gauthier is really putting it together right now. In this run, watch out, she's getting a little bit crossed up. I'm kind of surprised the truck didn't break right there, honestly. That looks like a pretty hard hit to the front end, but the truck is all held together, all things considered. And, I mean, that's going to give her some more opportunities here to do something crazy. And while we're speaking of something crazy, talk about save of the night. We just said it for Jamey Garner. That might have to go to Cynthia Gauthier now. And Lucas Stabilizer. With a move like that, I mean, it would be kind of hard not to call that save of the night. She's lining up for the Morgan backflip ramp now, as she's going to nail that landing. A perfect landing there. Picture perfect freestyle run that we are seeing. She now has about 30 seconds to just throw this truck at whatever she possibly can. But I mean, she's already delivered one of the best runs you could possibly ask for here at Monster Jam. And she is really keeping that energy going. With another great save, almost a little bit of a bicycle down at the far end of the track. A great sky wheelie, maybe a little bit sideways as well. A bit of cross-threading going. That is the end of the scoring period of this run. So anything else that we see right now from Cynthia Gauthier is just for you fans. We've seen a great freestyle run. Take a look at the wheelie action. She's going to land it on the rear end. She's going to break a tie rod and she's going to end up saving it once again. And that is going to do it for Cynthia, Gauthier, and Lucas Stabilizer. Talk about a freestyle run, an amazing run, really in every way possible. Great air, great saves, a little bit of crash madness in there when it came to that first save she got, and of course that nailed backflip. The best run you could really ask for at Monster Jam. Now it's going to be time to get your scores locked in. I mean, that was a pretty crazy run overall, so that might be a little difficult to try and come up with that score for a run as crazy as that, but that is the duty of you fans. So go ahead and get your scores locked in for what you think Cynthia Gauthier and Lucas Oil Stabilizer deserved. Again, you fans are officially responsible for scoring these runs, so go ahead and get your scores locked in. Well, the fan judging window is now closed, so the time to get your scores locked in is no longer available. That means that the official score tonight for Cynthia Gauthier and Lucas Oil Stabilizer is a 9.178, a great score. That's going to put her in second place right now. Now, it wasn't quite the top score of the night, but I mean, Jamey Garner really had an incredible run, so not too surprising there. A great score for Cynthia Gauthier and Lucas Oil Stabilizer. I mean, talk about a freestyle. That was some crazy action right there. This event is off to an insane start. Really everything that we have seen so far has been insane, and I'm sure the action is going to continue to follow that same trend, and especially I'm going to think that will be the case when you consider the driver coming up next, because this is Nick Pagliarulo behind the wheel of the Kraken. Now, Nick, he has a pretty long career with Monster Jam compared to some other second-generation drivers. He started around 2018 with monster trucks. Son of previous driver we've seen tonight, Matt Pagliarulo, and Nick is going to start this run off like a real Monster Jam driver right there with some massive air. Gets a little tossed up, but it was absolutely worth it to get some air like that. That's what you're going to need to do if you want to have hopes of getting a good score tonight. Wow. That was a really rough case, but somehow I don't think the truck suffered any damage from that. Now, Nick, on the other hand, might be a little bruised up after a landing like that one, but the truck itself looks like it held together pretty well. Nick is really giving this truck a run for its money right now. Same thing really for those top places like Cynthia Gauthier and Jamey Garner. So Nick Pagliarulo, he is ready to go tonight in the Kraken. He is giving us an incredible run so far, which is exactly what you're going to like to see. A great sky wheelie. Landed a little hard on that rear end, but you know what? It's not stopping him right now. He is really giving us quite an incredible run. He's going to have to throw this in reverse, though. Some more pretty good air. This might get him crossed up, though. Watch out, Nick. Watch out, Nick Pagliarulo crossed up, but not stopping him. He's going to pull off an amazing save. Man, I'll tell you what. The past two placement events between this show and Houston have had some of the craziest saves of the entire BeamNG Monster Jam season this year. I mean, it's really crazy to consider how so many off events happened earlier this year, but just in these two shows alone, we have seen so much insane action. It's kind of crazy. A little bit surprising, really. Nick, he's going to nail a backflip, though. It's a little bit of a hard landing. Fortunately, it looks like the truck held up, though, which means that Nick Pagliarulo has about 20 seconds to really do whatever he wants to close out this run. That truck is looking a little bit rough. Not sure what's going on there with the rear end. Didn't look like the truck suffered any external damage, but you're seeing some strange things going on with that rear end of that truck. And he's going to save it on the sidewall save. And it looks like that's going to wrap it up for Nick Pagliarulo and Kraken. He's unstrapped. And he has shut off that truck, which means that run is officially done. Another amazing freestyle run tonight. We have seen so many great runs from all these different competitors. With that said, it's officially time to get your scores locked in. Man, Nick Pagliarulo and Kraken really throwing it down. Now, in the meantime, while you fans get your scores locked in, We can really see what happened here. That suspension looks like it's really compressed. It didn't necessarily break off, but you can see maybe some sway bar issues. That truck is leaning quite a bit to the right, so some breakage there, but nonetheless, Nick Pagliarulo really made it count. It's time to get your scores locked in. And the scoring window is officially closed. And ladies and gentlemen, your official score tonight for Nick Pagliarulo and Kraken is a 9.083, a pretty good score. That's going to put him in third place right now in this freestyle competition. A pretty good score there for Nick Pagliarulo and Kraken, and it really does put him in the potential runnings for the Christmas Crush next week. So a great score for Nick Pagliarulo. So far, both the Pagliarulos have had good luck so far. Now it's going to just come down to if Mike Pagliarulo could have that same good luck later on. But we're not quite there yet. We'll get there later. Now, that being said, it's officially time to move into your next freestyle run. And up next is a new truck on the rise, but already becoming a fan favorite Monster Jam truck. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the track a rising name in the sport of Monster Jam. This is Kayla Blood in Sparkle Smash. Now, Kayla Blood is quite a history with Monster Jam. Kayla Blood is one of the most easily recognizable names in all of Monster Jam, but this truck just debuted earlier this year at the World Finals, and now it's going to be doing some more typical events, but Kayla Blood is going to be piloting it right now in this Christmas Crush qualifier event in hopes that she can put down a good enough freestyle run to qualify for that show. Now keep in mind, each driver will have 2 minutes to do the best run they can, and she's going to get this kicked off with some pretty nice air over that pod. I'm not too sure what went on with that hit right there. It looked like she was going for the berm, then she turned. I thought maybe the jammer, but no, she was actually trying to go right in between the two of them. She goes to that pod. You know what, though? Nonetheless, she has some great air going to kick off this run. We're seeing some great momentum, which is really what you love to see from any Monster Jam competitor. And she's going to get this a little bit crossed up now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can she save this? She is going to try and save it. Yes, she can. Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash saves it. Now, she did get a cool save and a little bit of a cool crash. But at what cost? Because that rear end is no longer behaving the way she wants it to. And that's definitely going to pose a challenge for her here as she tries to make the rest of this run count. It's going to become very difficult for her. And I think she's lost rear-wheel drive. This is not looking good for Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash one bit. She's trying to make something out of this because, I mean, like said, there's so much on the line. The biggest event of the year is on the line, and Kayla Blood certainly does not look like she wants to lose that opportunity. But, I mean, she's stuck on front-wheel drive. There's only so much you can do, but I'm going to respect the dedication here. She's not letting front-wheel drive stop her. She's, if anything, making it a way for her to go even more ragged edge. She's trying to make this work, and keep in mind, fans, this is what's so special about No Limit Monster Jam events. No matter how broken the truck is, drivers have the opportunity to continue on if they want to, but that's going to put an end to it right there. Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash, with only front-wheel drive, isn't able to pull off the save. You know what? She had some pretty good saves throughout the run in other places, so you know what? She made the most of what she could, even if there was a tough break early on with that freestyle run. Now, that being said, it is officially time to take a look at the official score for that freestyle run by Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash. Because scores are now officially locked. And ladies and gentlemen, your official score tonight for Kayla Blood and Sparkle Smash is a 7.802, a pretty decent score considering she was on only 2 wheels for pretty much the entirety of that run except for those first 2 hits. But nonetheless, I feel like she was probably looking to get a higher score tonight. And right now, a score that low does put her on the chopping block if she wants to make it to the Christmas Crush show. It's really going to come down to how well these other competitors perform to see whether or not she'll even be able to make it to the biggest event of the year. Tough break, but she made the most of what she had. Well, you know what? The action tonight has been off the charts from pretty much every single driver's freestyle run. I mean, I can't name a single run tonight that didn't have something insane happen in some form. But with that being said, the action never stops at Monster Jam, except for when it's intermission, of course. But it's time to move into that next freestyle run. And coming up next, the third and final tomfoolery driver tonight. This is Mike Pagliarulo driving Excalibur. Now, so far, Nick did an insane job. Matt did a pretty good job as well. So the pressure is on for Mike to live up to that family name that we have seen so far tonight. And you know what, though? A pretty good wheelie is going to kick off the run. And he's going to combo it up into another wheelie. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Mike Pagliarulo and Excalibur, I'm not even so sure what went on right there. Unfortunately, he's going to try and save this, but the truck's not going to be able to get the save. And unfortunately, he cannot fill 30 seconds of that time, which means he will not be going home with a score tonight. Again, no score for Mike Pagliarulo in Excalibur. Now, like I was saying at the beginning of that run, he was really looking to hopefully make something happen because, I mean, his brother and his father both did a great job of doing just that, but unfortunately, he couldn't quite maintain that family streak out here, and right now, he is on the chopping block, really with no hopes of being saved for the Christmas Crush event next week, so a very tough break for Mike Pagliarulo. He's not going to be able to make the Christmas Crush. Now, that being said, we're going to move into the next run right away. A driver who's more or less known for his arena runs, but now getting a chance to be on the big floor here in the U.S. Please welcome Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. Now, Tony Ochs, although he doesn't do U.S. stadium events very often, he does get pretty decent opportunities to do them overseas in all different countries. So, Tony Ochs has some stadium experience, but not quite in the U.S., so we'll see if that transition is anything strange for him, since the track styles are a little bit different here. When you look at overseas shows, you're generally seeing the same track at pretty much any stop. But in the U.S. here, we have all sorts of different tracks going on, so perhaps Tony Ochs will have to adapt to that in some capacity. Now, nonetheless, he's giving us some pretty good air to kick off the run, which is exactly what you'd like to see. You wouldn't want anything less, and he is really putting together a pretty solid run so far. Now, Tony Ochs has yet to get that main field competition in at the World Finals, but the Christmas Crush will be occurring next week. It's the biggest show of the year in this BeamNG Monster Jam season, so perhaps that could be a similar experience. Some nice technical moves, really the best technical moves all night long. He is going to overdo it, but no fear, because Tony Ochs pulls off another incredible save. We have seen so many crazy saves tonight. Now is the time that you're really going to have to turn that wick up and do something crazy that the fans haven't seen quite yet. He's going to come down a little bit hard on that landing, and it looks like that truck is now broken. So we're going to have to see how he can adapt to that here if he wants to have any hopes at putting together a good ending for this run. Now, so far, he's been doing pretty good, but once you set the bar somewhere, you're going to have to maintain that bar, or else it's just going to drop back down again. Looks like he might be lining up for the Morgan & Morgan backflip ramp, even though he's got some breakage going on. He is. He's going to go for it. And even with the broken truck... Wait, maybe I spoke too soon. No, I did not. Even with the broken truck, he's going to be able to nail that backflip landing. Would you expect anything less of Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus, though? And now he is just going to send this truck. Take a look at this air. Time has officially expired now for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. And it looks like he is officially done with this run. He's going to park that truck up there on the backflip ramp. And that's going to do it tonight for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. Another great run. We have seen so much action in this show. Now that being said, it is officially going to be time to get your scores locked in for that run. Pretty good run there for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. So again, go ahead and get those scores locked in for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. Well, that scoring window is now locked. And your official score tonight for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus is an 8.463. Honestly, maybe a little bit of a low score, but a pretty solid score for what it's worth. It's one of the bigger scores we've seen in this event so far. It does put him on the chalking block for now, but I'm sure we will have some other drivers with unfortunate luck that will place below him and not be able to make it instead of him. That being said, though, pretty great run, all things considered, for Tony Ochs and ThunderROARus. You know, the action tonight has been off the charts. Everyone has really been throwing it down, which is exactly what you want to see at Monster Jam. And now we're actually halfway through competition and only half the drivers remain. It's crazy how fast this show has gone by, but that's how crazy these runs have been. They've been so insane and so captivating that we've completely lost track of time because we're already halfway through and only half the field now remains to throw it down here in freestyle. Now that being said, if anyone knows something about throwing it down in freestyle, it's going to be this driver right here because he is a World Freestyle Champion, or 2014 World Freestyle Champion. Now entering the track, please welcome Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon. Now the pressure is definitely on here. Todd is one of the most notorious names in all of Monster Jam, so you don't want to slip up at an unfortunate time when you're one of the biggest drivers in the sport. And especially with how high the stakes are right now, the last thing Todd is looking for is a bad freestyle run. But he's going to get this kicked off with some pretty nice air off that FMX ramp to kick off this run. Wow. I just completely butchered like 3 words right there. He's going to kick it off on the FMX ramp. There we go. Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon, he's getting ready to go here for this freestyle run. Oh, there we go. Nice wheelie right there. That's exactly what we're going to need to see. And take a look at that combo. Beautiful combo for Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon. Oh, who needs the hood? Say goodbye to the hood. We don't need it here. It's just getting in the way, if anything. Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon. Oh, watch out. Here we go. Some more nice air. Todd, LeDuc really showing you fans why he is a 2-time Monster Jam World Champion. And he is really keeping this energy alive right now. I mean, we're seeing some great combination moves, some great air, some great wheelies, and even a little bit of technical move action. There we go, some nice air transfer over to the pod. Something that we haven't seen too much of recently from Todd, LeDuc. Maybe he's feeling the pressure, though, with this being an official placement event for the Christmas Crush next week. There goes the tail of the shark. Todd, LeDuc losing body parts one by one. Would you expect anything less from Todd, LeDuc than shredding the body off that Monster Jam truck, though? Because I sure wouldn't. Todd, LeDuc, a veteran to the sport. He knows what it takes to get you fans impressed. And sometimes tearing apart that Monster Jam truck is exactly that. But you know what? He's not going to tear apart the Monster Jam truck on that landing. He absolutely nails it. A picture-perfect backflip. And now he has about 13 seconds to make something happen. Now, I'm not sure what happened right there. There we go. A nice save. It sounds like when he went in for that jump, the transmission was having some trouble, but he might just have not shifted up, honestly, because now he's back into full capacity. And talk about full capacity. How about a LeDuc leap and some crazy ragged edge action for Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon? He's going to try and save this. Oh, he can't quite pull off the save. But, I mean, is there anything more Todd, LeDuc than ending off the run with an absolutely massive LeDuc leap? I sure don't think there is. What an incredible way to end out the run. Nearly pulled off the save as well, but you see there was a little bit of truck issues there with the front end. That 4-link bar was broken, and because of that, it got in the way of him being able to pull off that save the way he needed it to, and he was not able to pull off that save tonight. That being said, the scoring period for Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon is officially locked. And your score tonight for Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon is an 8.916. Talk about a score. I mean, that's a pretty high score considering how low Tony Ochs' score was in comparison to that. But you know what? I'm certainly not complaining. We saw some great saves, some great air, a nailed backflip, some great wheelies. A pretty solid run there for Todd, LeDuc, and Megalodon. And I'm sure that's exactly the score he was looking for tonight. And the action continues as these drivers are all pursuing the opportunity to make it to the Christmas Crush event. Every single one of these drivers throwing it down right now. The bar is set really high. None of these drivers want to disappoint themselves or you fans, and they're all doing the best they can to throw down impressive runs. And if anyone had an impressive run, that was surely one of them. Now coming up next, a driver who hasn't had a super large career with Monster Jam, only done a couple events before, now getting the chance to come back and give it another go. The second time doing a show here in Arlington, please welcome Tim Jones and Tailgator. Now Tim Jones, last time he was here had some pretty bad luck and rolled it really early on. But he's back and he's going to get the chance to do it again. And some great air is exactly what we're going to need to see. Tim Jones and Tailgator, he knows how to throw down some good freestyle runs, that's for sure. Take a look. Maybe some of the biggest air we've seen all night long, and he's just getting started. This is what makes Tim Jones and Tailgator so much fun to watch. I mean, as soon as he hits the track, he is already setting the bar extremely high for the remainder of his run. And I mean, that's what makes Tim Jones such a fun freestyler to watch. Oh no! Oh my goodness! Well, that's not good. Tim Jones and Tailgator, he's going to come down hard on that landing. He breaks the tire clean off the truck and almost saves it. And I'm sure he would have been willing to do a 3-tire freestyle run if he could have. But unfortunately, he couldn't save that. That ramp got in the way and the truck ends up completely turtled, completely on the lid. What a tough break for Tim Jones and Tailgator. That is definitely not what he wanted to do tonight. The Arlington bad luck streak continues. He is 0 for 2 against this Arlington stadium now. A very tough break, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles here at Monster Jam. That being said, he did fill enough time to get an official score. And your score tonight for Tim Jones and Tailgator is a 4.782. Not the worst score we've seen all night, but certainly not the score Tim Jones and Tailgator was looking for. Well, you know what? Some drivers have had great runs, some drivers have had some bad luck, and unfortunately, add that to the bad luck list. Another unfortunate ending to a run, this time for Tim Jones and Tailgator. Well, coming up next, perhaps a bit of an unexpected driver-truck pairing, but we're going to see this all throughout the 2025 season next year. Please welcome Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. That is certainly very weird to say. Blake Granger making a full-time swap from Max D to Monster Mutt Dalmatian. Now that being said, it'll be interesting to see what he can try and do with this truck. Blake Granger, look at the save. Well, that was definitely not exactly how he was looking to start off the run, but maybe it was better. I mean, he was just looking to do a moonwalk, and it almost ended pretty awfully, but the truck was able to self-right enough to get the truck back on its sidewalls, and once it was at that point, Blake Granger was ready to give that truck a save. I mean, that was so insane. I'm losing the ability to speak English properly right now. I just called ready Letty. I mean, there's so much going on with this run. Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian, he is showing you fans why he is one of the best in the business, why he's captained Max D for so many years. And now he gets a chance to make his way into a new truck. And he is definitely showing you fans that he is capable of doing something crazy. This run has been off the charts so far, and talk about some off the charts action. That was some massive air for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. We're seeing some flawless action right now. Great wheelie, take a look at that. Some flawless action tonight for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. He's lining up for the Morgan & Morgan backflip ramp. A flawless lineup. He spent no time wasted getting that truck lined up for that backflip. Nails the landing. The truck held up, which means he now has the remainder of his time to throw down and really do whatever he wants with this run. If he can keep this truck on all 4 tires. What? What was that? That move was so insane that my voice is physically dying right now. I can't even speak a word without my voice cracking at this point because of how insane that run was. I spent so much time yelling about that run that my voice is completely dying. That would have been save of the year, perchance, from Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian if he could have pulled it off, but he got a little shook up trying to save it, and that truck would get shut off midway through that save. Still a great run for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. And it's going to be, it's now officially time to get those scores locked in for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. And your score tonight for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian is an 8.692, a pretty good score, maybe a little bit low, but a pretty decent score nonetheless there for Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian. A great score. I'm sure he'll be going home happy with that because that does give him a pretty solid chance to be in the running for the Christmas Crush next week. Now, with that being said, we are almost done with the competition tonight. Only 5 drivers remain. The action has already been off the charts. I don't know what these drivers could possibly try to do to top the runs we've seen so far, but they're going to have to do something if they want to have hopes at making it to the show next week. So, the competition off the charts right now, but you know what? These drivers are going to give it their all no matter what. And coming up next, an amazing driver, no stranger to doing crazy things. Please welcome Venard, the Black Pearl. Now, speaking of no stranger, Venard is no stranger to this track. He ran this track for a full Monster Jam season just a couple years ago, and now he finally gets to revisit it. And I mean, he's going to have an advantage over a pretty decent amount of the other drivers in the field, since they didn't get the chance to run on this track. Now, Todd LeDuc did get the opportunity to run on this track before, and that was unsurprising considering how massive his score was. Same thing goes for the Pagliarulos and plenty of other drivers in this field, but there's still that upper hand advantage over the drivers who didn't compete on this track before. Venard in the Black Pearl. He has a rough landing, but he's going to make the most of it. It looks like he's now running into some truck problems nonetheless, though. He's going to try and get something to happen here. That front end steering having some troubles. Maybe a bit of a broken tie rod as well. So I'm sure that's a little bit rough there for Venard, because I'm sure he's really looking to make it to that Christmas Crush event. But a little bit of a broken tie rod isn't going to stop him, especially when the stakes are as high as they are. And take a look at the save. Venard, like I said, that's not going to be stopping him. And he is really just taking this as an opportunity to get on the ragged edge more than anything. A breakage is not detrimental to Venard, as we're learning right now, because he is absolutely throwing down in the Black Pearl, regardless of that truck's condition. Looks like he's now going to give us some donuts over here. Got about 30 seconds left on the clock to try to do something special. Keep in mind he has that broken front tie rod, but it looks like he's lining up for the Morgan & Morgan backflip ramp. You know, I thought he was going to go over right there when that truck started to twist, but he had the peace of mind to step off the throttle once he was in the air, knowing that that truck would twist like that. And because of that, he was able to prevent the truck from going over entirely. And speaking of preventing the truck from going over entirely, Venard and the Black Pearl, he's going to throw this into another incredible save to end out the freestyle run. Talk about an ending to a freestyle. Let's take a look at that once again. I mean, you fans have the freedom to rewind about 20 seconds at home to see what on earth we just witnessed from Venard and the Black Pearl. That might have been the best run of the night, despite the fact that he was running on a broken tie rod for a majority of that run. That is what makes Venard so much fun to watch. With that being said, the scores are now going to be locked, and your official score tonight for Venard and the Black Pearl is a 9.628, which means Venard and the Black Pearl officially is your new leader tonight in the Monster Jam Freestyle competition here in Arlington. That is exactly what Venard and the Black Pearl wanted to see. That is some great news to hear from Venard. That means he is 100% making it to the biggest show of the year just next week. A huge deal for Venard and the Black Pearl, and an amazing freestyle run. With that being said, we're down to the last 4 freestyles of the night remaining. And in this specific order, we're going to have Armando, Castro, and Toro, Loco. Zack, Garner, and Wildside. Bryce, Kenny, and Monster Mutt. And Tyler, Menninga, and Gravedigger. They will round out the final 4 drivers that we're going to be seeing in tonight's competition. And the first of those 4, your reigning World 2-Wheel Skills Champion. This is Armando, Castro, Toro, Loco. Well, you know what? The pressure certainly is on tonight for these drivers to make something happen. And Armando Castro, he is definitely coming into this run with that mindset, as he's kicking it off with some of the biggest air of the night. Getting already a bit on the ragged edge, despite only being a couple seconds into this run. And Armando Castro, not much of a ragged edge driver, so I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. I mean, we're used to seeing him having some more calculated hits, like one just like that. He's going to get some massive air off of that jammer. Armando Castro and Toro Loco, he is here to win, clearly, because, I mean, he is throwing this truck at the highest speeds possible into every face of every ramp on the track. Armando Castro and Toro Loco, he is searching for that win tonight, and I mean, we're seeing that kind of energy from him right now. Oh, talk about a rare mistake. Armando Castro and Toro Loco, he's going to get it onto the front end to do a little bit of a moonwalk, and it sounds like he shifts down into neutral, and because of that, he's not going to be able to save that. That truck rolls over, and that's going to officially end out the run there for Armando Castro and Toro Loco. You know that's frustrating, because that is a very, very rare mistake to see from Armando Castro and Toro Loco. Well, on that note, that does mean that he's officially done for the night. And your score tonight for Armando Castro and Toro Loco is going to be a 5.924. So a fairly decent score considering he didn't even fill half the time. But definitely not a very good score when you look at the overall event. That does put Armando Castro on the chopping block. And I don't think there's any way to get him off. I'm pretty sure he is officially not making it to the event next week. Again, a super tough break and a very rare mistake for a driver like Armando Castro. You know, he likes to do things that no other drivers can and really just send that truck into the air and do the craziest moves possible. But as soon as he got to the front end, a normally typical move from him, he unfortunately would not be able to save it, and that ended the run. Now, on that note, we're going to move right into your next freestyle. Your third to last run tonight. How about your reigning world racing champion? Please welcome to the track, Zack, Garner, and Wildside. Zack Garner, possibly the biggest face in all of the current rising stars. You look at drivers like Zack Garner, Weston Anderson, John Zimmer Jr., Mike Pagliarulo, all drivers who are second-generation drivers that have recently joined the sport and have done an incredible job in their short time with the sport so far. Zack Garner, he is showing us some of that right now as he is on the nose. He's going to combo this up. Take a look at that. A perfect two-wheel maneuver to kick off the run. Wow, that was scary. I thought he was over right there. I genuinely thought that was going to be the end of Zack Garner's run, and a very rare mistake. That would have been a bit upsetting, but fortunately, he is going to be able to recover from that, and he's going to send this truck straight into possibly the biggest jump of the entire night. What less would you really expect of Zack Garner in Wildside? This is exactly what I had in mind when Zack Garner was getting ready to hit the track. I mean, this is Zack Garner. Last time he was in Arlington, he had an incredible freestyle run that was very well in the runnings to possibly take home the freestyle win. Now, he couldn't quite pull it off. Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger was actually the one who would do it, but Ryan had some very bad luck last week and is currently not going to be able to make the Christmas Crush, which means this is Zack Garner's chance to get his revenge if he can throw down a great run and make it to the event. And so far, we're seeing just that from Zack Garner and Wildside. He is absolutely throwing it down right now. Some great action so far. That was a bit of a rough landing. We'll see if that plays into anything with this run or not. But so far, Zack Garner's keeping it nice and composed with this run. He's lining up for that monster jam. Morgan backflip ramp. Nails the landing. Even a bit of a moonwalk off of it. Gonna back it up all the way to the wall. But that's just in preparation for the air of the night. Zack Garner and Wildside. Oh, man. And that's going to do it. It looks like he's going to get a little bit out of hand and end up just in the front barricades. But you know what? That's exactly what the barricades here at Monster Jam are for. They are to prevent the fans from getting hurt. And they're going to serve that exact purpose right here. You see Zack Garner going into the barricades. That's exactly what the barricades are there for. They're there for the trucks to go into them. So someone has to do it. Tonight it's going to be Zack Garner in Wildside. With that being said, the time to get your scores locked in is now locked. So far, we've seen some pretty high scores and some pretty crazy saves. Unfortunately, Zack Garner didn't really have one of those saves in there, but he had some great air, so we're going to have to see what those scores are going to be looking like tonight. And your official score tonight for Zack Garner and Wildside is an 8.149. Now, not a bad score by any means, but in terms of the overall event so far, that is not a high enough score to make it to the Christmas Crush. And whether or not he'll be able to make it is now purely going to come down to how well Tyler Menninga can perform, as well as Bryce Kenny. Now, Tyler Menninga is the last chance for the Gravedigger camp, because Adam and Ryan Anderson both had some pretty bad scores in the last event, and right now it's not looking like the Digger camp is going to be able to make it to the main show unless, and keyword unless, Tyler Menninga can do a good run later tonight. You know, not necessarily a tough break for Zack Garner. He had a great run, but I'm sure that's not exactly how he was looking to end it out. And he didn't get the best score ever because of that. Wow. Now that being said, he still got a pretty decent score, but it wasn't high enough to put him into the running for the Christmas Crush. So, a tough break, but we'll see how these other drivers left to hit the floor are going to perform. And coming up next, here comes a fan favorite driver. This is Bryce Kenny and Monster Mutt. Another thing that feels so unnatural to say on top of Blake Granger and Monster Mutt Dalmatian, now we have Bryce Kenny joining the Dogtown. For the first time in quite a few years, we're seeing Bryce Kenny driving Monster Mutt full time, and this is the beginning of that. Now the stakes are high because this is not only Bryce Kenny's chance to prove himself in a new truck, but also, I mean, the Christmas Crush is on the line. So, none of these drivers want to perform poorly, but this might be very bad news for Bryce Kenny. He's going to get an awkward landing, and he has most definitely caused some damage into that truck. Now that being said, it doesn't look like he's going to let that stop him, but that doesn't mean that the truck isn't going to stop itself. It's very possible, looking at those breakages, that Bryce Kenny may end up losing front wheel drive. He may end up losing the front end entirely, in which case he'd have to end the run. So, although he's going to have to push if he wants to have hopes of getting a great score, he's going to have to be equally cautious if he wants this run to not end early. And speaking of end early, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I said it as soon as that truck broke in that way. The chances of Bryce Kenny losing front wheel drive and maybe the front end entirely was pretty high. And, well, both of those things happened right there. He's going to get an awkward landing, try to save it, but the front wheel drive, unfortunately, isn't going to cooperate, and he has ripped out that front axle. A very tough break for Bryce Kenny. He tried to make the most of what he had, but it didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to. And it's now time to take a look at the scores. And your score tonight for Bryce Kenny and Monster Mutt is a 7.818, which is a very high score in my opinion. I think that's a very, very high score. I think it should have been a bit lower than that, especially considering Kayla Blood's run earlier tonight that had a score lower than that. So very high score for Bryce Kenny, but I mean, I don't know. It's up to the judges, I guess, and that's the score they gave. So Bryce Kenny with a 7.818. Now, that being said, it's officially time for the last run of the night. Commonly considered one of the greatest drivers in Monster Jam history, not just as of recent, of all time, now getting the chance to throw it down tonight. This is Tyler Menninga, Gravedigger. Now, Tyler, no stranger to doing crazy things because he is your reigning world freestyle champion. Unsurprisingly so. Now, Adam Anderson and Ryan Anderson last week had some pretty awful luck. So, Tyler Menninga is really the last hope for the Gravedigger camp. But I would be surprised to see a not good run from Tyler Menninga. Unless truck issues come into play, I don't think Tyler Menninga is going to give us anything less than an insane run, and he's going to get this run kicked off in classic Tyler Menninga fashion with some great air. Now, Tyler Menninga has a pretty good blend of keeping it big air and a little bit ragged edge, but also calculated and collected. Tyler Menninga. Oh, man. Well, right as I was saying that, it looks like the Gravedigger camp's bad luck is going to continue. Tyler Menninga is going to come in with a save attempt, and he's not going to be able to pull off the save. An extremely rare mistake for Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. A really tough break. I'm surprised to see him going over early. That means he's not getting a score, and that means Tyler Menninga and Adam Anderson are guaranteed not making it to the Christmas Crush, which is insane. Ryan Anderson is the only hope for any digger truck to make it to the Christmas Crush, and that's still unconfirmed whether or not he even got a good enough score for that. What a tough break for the Gravedigger camp. None of those drivers were able to make it. That means currently, as far as the scores go, there's not going to be any Gravedigger or Son of a Digger at the Christmas Crush next week, which is insane to say, but all the drivers had awful luck, and I guess that's just how the cookie's going to crumble. So, a great night of action for some drivers. Tyler Menninga, not one of them. A tough break, but a great show overall. Lots of fun seeing all these competitors throw it down, and that's going to do it tonight. So thank you all for coming out to tonight's event. This was an amazing show overall, and I hope you guys are excited because next week is the biggest show of the year.